You're watching Face to Face. I'm your host, Tim Vince, and I'm delighted to be joined by Brandi Swindell. And I know that you're involved in Stanton Healthcare, but it's Stanton International. Just tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. And yeah, Stanton Healthcare International is a movement of life-affirming women's medical centers. And so what we do is provide women with hope, with quality medical services and tangible resources when they're facing an unexpected pregnancy, so that they have all the support that they need and they don't feel alone, they don't feel scared, but they really have a community of people surrounding them so they can confidently carry that baby to term.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing because it's portrayed what you're doing that in the mainstream media, let's say, sorry, I've said it now, it is portrayed as something very negative. You know, you're taking away, you know, the woman's right to choose, you know, you're not caring for them, but it sounds from what you've just said,
it's the exact opposite.
You've shot all those foxes, as it were.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I'm glad you bring that up because it's really important. With all the different voices out there, right? The pro-choice side, the pro-life side, the people in between, the media, the government, the activists. There's a lot of voices, a lot of talk about who we are and what we do. And the voices I listen to are the most important voices, and that is the voice of the woman that we serve.
Yeah.
And when she walks through our doors, she's scared, she feels alone, it's an unexpected pregnancy. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know where to turn. And when she leaves, she's hope-filled, she's confident, she has a plan, and she has peace in her heart. And so that's the power of what we do. And those are the voices I listen to. And the women that come through our doors, we have a 99.9% approval rating, meaning they do exit interviews, and they're asked, did you feel safe when you came here? Did you get the help and the support you needed? Would you refer a friend to Stanton Healthcare? Wow. And it's a resounding yes. And this is a diverse group of women. I mean, we have women who come through our doors that are pro-life, pro-choice, faith-based, not faith-based, of a political viewpoint or no political viewpoint. And they're all facing the same thing, an unexpected pregnancy. And they all find hope and care in a safe and non-judgmental environment. And so that's the power of what we do. And so I don't listen to the arguments and the controversy. I listen to the women that are touched by what we do. In the most powerful moment, can I tell you?
Yeah,
Tim?
no, you can. And then I'll pop a question.
Yes.
But no, I love to hear it because you're answering all my questions.
Yes.
So I'm racking my brains to think, have I got anything left to ask?
Can you tell I'm passionate about what I do? And I'm
go for it.
passionate about advocating for the women
Yeah.
we serve because it's important and it's powerful. And they need us to be a voice. And they need us to never flinch. And we can't be afraid and we can't be distracted by any of the hateful things said about us or who we are. Yeah. But when a woman comes to Stanton and she's holding her baby that she had considered not carrying to term, and she has that baby, and with a tear in her eye, she looks at me and says, I don't know what I would have done without Stanton. Thank you for what you do. Wow. That's the most powerful moment.
And is there, you know, it's not just visit us once and everything's going to be sorted. It's a process, isn't it? Because, you know, the pressures are still there after the first visit, if you know what I mean, because of the political environment. So, you know, the pressure maybe from family, from, you know, communities saying, no, you must go this way or that way. So it's quite a big job you're doing.
We have an 18-month program. So it's a minimum of 18 months that a woman comes to us at whatever part during the duration of her pregnancy. So it's the rest of her pregnancy and then a minimum of 9 months afterwards. And oftentimes it's longer than that or as long as they need. In fact, one of our very first Stanton Healthcare clients is 15 years old now. And she and her mom still come into our center, meaning the 15-year-old is the baby that almost didn't exist. But the mom found Stanton, and she has testified on Capitol Hill. She's spoken before lawmakers, she's spoken to the media, and she shares her story about how her life mattered, and she's so happy that her mom found Stanton. And so you're exactly right, it's a process. It's not just, hey, hope everything works out, have your baby, but we walk alongside these women, like I said earlier, giving them the medical care that they need, the emotional care, the tangible resources, mommy and me classes, budgeting classes. We have a baby boutique full of supplies and maternity clothes, prenatal vitamins, ultrasound exams, STD testing and treatment. I mean, it's really a holistic approach that really, again, brings that community of support and hope around them.
Wow, that is amazing. So let's reel back. Normally the first question I ask is how did you get into it?
Sure.
Of course, you're saying it's not necessarily faith-based. People of faith or not faith or none come to you, but you're motivated by a deeper faith.
Absolutely.
Will that mess up your public persona if we talk about that? But
I am proud to say it.
Yes.
I am a woman of faith.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I often say that I'm not the founder of Stanton. It was, in the heart of Christ long before I ever thought of it, and God's the one who put it in my heart. Yeah. And that's why it's such a beautiful and incredible ministry, is because this work is close to our Lord's heart. He loves these women. He loves these children. He loves the fathers of these babies. He loves the family. He invented and created the whole concept. He loves the idea of womanhood and what it is to be a mother and all these beautiful things. And so it really is a ministry that's close to my heart. I saw the need that where I'm from in the States, out in Idaho, that we needed a center that provided exceptional care to women, and that as a community we have everything it takes to provide women with the support that they need. And so we launched that out in Idaho, and now it's become a national and international movement of healthcare clinics, and it's because it works. And it's making a difference in the lives of women.
What I love about everything you've said, without me even asking questions, is it's all positive. It's amazing. And there's a sort of a Bible verse that we follow as Christians, which is often misinterpreted. So we might talk about how to communicate, but it's forbidden to even mention what the disobedient do in secret. So I find that some campaigners are so preoccupied with mentioning all these dark things, which actually, not only is it forbidden, it says it's shameful. Now, that can be misinterpreted, because I've been in the media spotlight being told that you've said that this is shameful, and I've said, no, I'm saying it's shameful for me to talk about it. So we've got one arm tied behind our backs while others are promoting something. You need a real gift to actually, which is exactly what you've got, is to speak all of these beautiful, positive, hopeful truths, and not get sort of stuck in all the weeds of a debate.
Sure.
So it's a gift.
Well, I think it's important that, really my job, my role, is to be a voice for the women we serve. Yeah. And to be a voice for those preborn children in the womb who have no voice, ultimately. So shouldn't we speak the truth with hope and love and compassion? And of course, we need to be direct and we need to be truthful. But there's, we serve a God of hope and love. And when, His presence is in your life, it's really His words that come out of us. And I say that humbly, but He is the creator of speaking truth and hope and love in a way that connects with people.
You've mentioned hope a number of times. There's an interesting thing about hope is that it can be for things we don't have now.
Yes.
In fact, it is. I think there's a verse in Romans 8 that says, hope that is seen is no hope at all, for who hopes for what he already has? Yeah. But if you hope for what you do not yet have, you'll wait for it patiently. So then faith comes into it. So it is spiritual.
It is spiritual, and you hit on something that the reason why hope is so important, just as Christians, and we find that in God's Word, but in the work of Stanton Healthcare, the women who come through our doors are oftentimes terrified, and they feel alone. Sometimes they're being pressured or coerced into making a decision they don't want to make. And so it's important that we speak that truth and that hope, because then that becomes a reality in their lives. And so instead of walking in fear, they begin to walk in hope.
That's brilliant.
And that's the game changer.
Yeah. And dare I say, there's another great quote on hope in Romans 4, which is, against all hope, Abraham in hope believed.
Yes.
And that is all about Sarah giving birth to Isaac.
That's right.
When it was impossible.
It was impossible.
But it was so important.
Yes.
For the fulfillment of the promise.
Yes.
So he did not waver through unbelief, but being fully persuaded that God had power to do what he had promised, he believed.
Yeah. And isn't that what we all need in today's world?
Yeah,
in
I
this
think
broken
so.
and hurting world, wherever we live in the world, that as believers, we need to be unflinching in our hope and in trusting God's word, and that he is faithful in what he promises.
Yeah.
So
someone comes from a non-faith background with obviously a predicament. Where do you start?
Well, we start by embracing them with hope and compassion. They come into our waiting room and they realize that it's not a place of condemnation or judgment, but it's a place for them to feel safe and to be who they are. They meet with one of our trained client advocates who, number one, listens to them, listens to their story, listens to their situation, takes seriously their concerns, and then we lead them on this conversation of the reality they're in. Because oftentimes women, there's somebody speaking into their life fear. You're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin my life. You're never going to get through college. This unexpected pregnancy is going to ruin all the dreams and hopes that you have. So we take each one of those one by one and say, is that really true?
Yeah, very good.
Can you still have an unexpected pregnancy? Can you embrace womanhood? Can you embrace motherhood and still graduate college? Can you still achieve your dreams and goals? Can you still embrace the adventure of life? And yes, you can.
And is there a financial dimension to this then? How do you actually help them either support themselves or find support financially? Because some of those answers are financial, aren't they?
Sure, absolutely. There can be familial pressures, economic pressures, there can be abusive situations, there can be a lot of different factors. And our trained staff, our medical team, and our trained advocates are very well experienced on how to navigate women through all these things. But we're very big on, we don't just say, hey, you're having a baby, hope it all works out for you.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, no, we come alongside them with the tangible resources and support that they need. So if there's financial assistance that they need, we learn about what that is, we meet them where they are, and we help them with the resources they need. And then also that whole concept of teaching them how to fish. You don't just give them the fish, but if they really need a fish, we'll give them the fish, but then you teach them how to fish after that, right? And so that's where we have budgeting classes. We have people that come in and help them, get their high school degree or their college degree. We help with job placement. We have a great coalition of people that we work with that can help with job placement and things like that. And so we really, and we're also kind of a roadmap for all the different resources that are available to them. And there's a lot of community support that already exists. People sometimes just don't know where to find it. And so we really help them develop a plan and execute that plan so that they have a chance at a brighter future, and so does their baby.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You've mentioned Capitol Hill, because that it's a big cost to society, isn't it? Things going wrong.
Yes.
In relationships, in life, and all of that in upbringing. So I would have thought they'd be biting your hands off, aren't they? One would hope. You know what I mean? That you're offering them something that is going to save society a lot. Apart from all the emotional stress, financially it's going to save a lot of money.
That is one thing when we are invited to advocate for the women we serve and share about the work that we do, whether it's at state legislators, excuse me. Yes, that's a tongue twister there. I do know how to talk. Or if it's in Washington, D.C., testifying before Congress, we do take a big burden away from the state that the state would have to carry by informing these women and educating these families on how to stand on their own 2 feet and how to be a part of a community and how to embrace help and assistance, but doing it in a way that these women start making healthier choices for themselves, for their baby, the family unit gets stronger and healthier. And so that takes a big burden off the state. And also, Stanton Healthcare, we don't take any government funding. Wow. We are funded completely by by private donations. So people just like you and I,
Yeah.
you know, that believe in the work that we're doing, that become monthly contributors or whatever it might be. And so we don't have no government funding at all. And we're able to do this incredible work because there's so many generous people that want to support women and stand with them and with their babies. And we have a tremendous amount of volunteers at our clinics. I mean, tens of thousands of hours of volunteers that give of their generous time at our clinics. And so it's always uplifting and encouraging to me. There's so much that we can do without necessarily having government funding. Just providing love and that word hope we keep coming back to is a game changer.
Powerful word, and it is intention. You mentioned fear, but hope can overcome fear.
That's right.
But as long as hope is properly represented and not misrepresented. In other words, the fearmongers are saying you're crazy to be hopeful, you know. But actually, the fear isn't real.
That's right.
So they're accusing the hope of not being real,
right?
But the fear isn't real,
right?
Especially when it's worked out, when you see the fruit of what you're doing.
Right, exactly. And when we stand on God and His Word and His faithfulness, and that He is our firm place to stand, and we can impart that to people, that's where hope really starts to blossom. But there's so many mistruths out there, and there's so many accusations, and especially when a woman is facing an unexpected pregnancy. It's 1 in 4 women who undergo terminating their pregnancy report that they were pressured and coerced into that decision.
Now, the point is, I've got a friend who's working on a university campus. She's trying to do what you're doing, in a small way with students who are in these situations. She's accused of doing the pressuring.
Right.
And so the whole thing is turned upside down. And while you're helping, you're being accused of pressuring.
Right, which we get that in the States too, from the pro-choice movement.
Yeah.
Right? Well, if they're attacking one choice and only leaving one other choice, well, then where's the choice? Right.
Very
exactly.
good.
Exactly.
I never thought of that.
Well,
that's a good argument.
and so when they're trying to attack centers like Stanton or attack the work of the pro-life community or attacking life-affirming initiatives, they're really trying to take away the whole concept of choice, and they're so blinded they don't even really realize they're doing it, or they don't care. But if we really want to,
why is it? Why has our modern? I mean, it's a difficult question, but our modern world got to a point where they're just so heartless towards, just so focused on this single issue that you've got to have the rights to terminate, and not thinking of the vulnerable in the women, not thinking of the consequences. I don't want to over-egg it, but there are terrible consequences and mental consequences.
There are. The majority of women who undergo, terminating their pregnancy, they express feelings of regret. The sting of regret and guilt is incredibly powerful. And these are women who are strong and confident and courageous and are absolutely broken and devastated after they've terminated their pregnancy. And this is short-term and long-term. And so this is what all the studies show. We also know that, again, that so many women feel like they're coerced or pressured into, terminating their pregnancy, that it's an unwanted scenario.
By the way, in the UK, I know in America you've got your Roe versus Wade and that, but we had, as it were, the Act of Parliament, the law that was passed to legalise it. The main argument in 1967, I think, was that it's for healthcare. In other words, it's for the care of those who go to the back streets and are harmed. But it seems that primary argument is completely lost today, because there's all sorts of other reasons why, even lifestyle choices. Which seems very callous. So that's my question. Why have we got to this point?
How have we gotten to this point? Well, and it's 99.9% are for non-healthcare reasons. It's for convenience. That's the truth.
Heartbreaking.
And it is heartbreaking, and there's easier and easier ways to do it. Now, instead of a surgical procedure, you're terminating by popping a pill, which has a whole other set of very serious issues that every parent should be concerned about, because who's getting these pills, where are they getting them from, what's actually in the pills. The pills could now be crushed up and put into a smoothie without a woman knowing. It's an absolutely terrifying concept.
And the DIY, so COVID was, has, you know, sort of put rocket boosters under the
that's
whole
true.
industry.
That's very true. That's very, very true. And and it's a big moneymaker as well.
So that's the other thing. So when the laws pass, oh no, it has to be a doctor, it has to be, then oh no, it can be any medical professional, and now it's do it at home.
Do it at home by yourself. Exactly. So now we're turning our homes into clinics without people even realizing it. And now you have minors doing it without parents' knowledge because they can order these pills online from all different
We had
countries.
it in schools, so state schools, or what you call public schools, you know, teachers can advise, they can coach, and tell the children not to tell their parents.
Not to tell their parents.
The parents don't have a right
no
in the whole thing.
consent. There's no parental knowledge about it. It's terrifying, really, when you stop and think about it. But I do think people's hearts have gotten so hardened and calloused to the reality of what it is to terminate a pregnancy. And I can tell you as a woman that you know, unfettered access to terminating a pregnancy has not helped women. It has not served women. And, you know, there's been sort of this myth out there that in order to compete in a man's world, in order to be successful, we have to change who we are, and we have to have this right to terminate our pregnancy. And it's just not true. And so it's heartbreaking to see that, you know, there's people that are blind to the reality of it. But it's had devastating consequences on women, on families, on society. And the reason why Stanton Healthcare remains open and the reason why our clinics are busy is because there is a need and there is a desire in women with all different sorts of backgrounds and beliefs that want to access our services. And they're incredibly glad when they do find us. And so that's the truth that we rely on. Again, as I said earlier, it's the truth of what the women are saying who actually access our care. And that's what matters.
And I know that you do the healthcare, you do the public policy, if I've got that.
That's right.
So it's called Stanton
Public Policy Center, based in Washington, D.C.
And then you've got the international. So your influence is beyond Idaho, where you're based.
Yes, it is. And that's because the model works.
Yeah.
The model of providing quality health care, tangible resources, and hope.
Yeah.
It works.
Can you get into sort of, I know we've got problems in Britain, I've mentioned it, but can you get into places like Holland and Belgium, you know, that seem to have it pretty well, you know, baked in?
We would love to, but there certainly are some challenges in different countries. We haven't explored those areas specifically, but I sure would love to.
Because the public policy side of it, you know, I've chatted to others about this, that there are, if you don't stop it, it goes further than, you know, full term. You know, let's say you can terminate up to, so you're talking about life up to full term, they're talking about terminating up to full term. But in Holland and Belgium, legislators are talking about terminating after full term.
Yes.
And the whole logic seems to be, if you don't stop it, who knows where it'll end.
For their position, that is the logical conclusion. If you can devalue life in the womb, then why can't you devalue it outside the womb? That would be the logical end.
By the way, must be a doctor, you know, the professional can make the decision, but then before you know it, the child is making a decision that they're tired of life, or, you know, or whatever, and it's all godless, I would say.
It's godless, and it's snowballed into all of life being devalued. And that the sacredness of human life doesn't exist anymore in the hearts and minds of a lot of people. And that's why you see people who are suffering with depression, or they've been diagnosed with a severe illness and they're looking for different ways to kind of check out. And the fact that society is even accepting it is absurd. But again, if we look at the precedent that has been set, that we have devalued an entire population of people in the womb. We've stripped away their human rights. We've stripped away their constitutional rights. We've stripped away their civil rights. We've stripped away, or we've tried to strip away their God-given right to life. Well, if we do that in the womb...
But you know, they call that progressive. So it's all regressive, what you know, this idea of terminating and all of that. But somehow there's a political movement that says we're the ones who are progressive. So those who are involved in all of these what I say, godless things, are saying you're the one who's regressive. You're the one who's dated. You're not up to date. You're not taking account of modern technology.
That's really easy because that doesn't even match with science. to look at that. If you look at countries that have embraced abortion, like say countries like China, terminating pregnancies, if you look at countries that's a government policy to have one-child policies, well, their population aging themselves. They're actually working against themselves. They're actually working against progress.
Yeah.
And it has damaging effects, which is why in many of their areas around China, they have flipped their one-child policy because it was creating such an imbalance. So if you look at what is actually progressive and what actually works, it always matches up with life and with procreation. That's what advances society, that's what advances civilization, and that's been known for thousands of years.
Another point is, dare I say as a man, is misbehavior. That's why we're in the problem we're in.
Sure.
There are no boundaries, sexual revolution of the 60s.
Absolutely.
So now we're here, but we're blaming something else. We're saying, that this whole concept of having boundaries is wrong.
Right. And having, not taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Our choices have actions.
But can you, in your work, and this is stepping maybe outside comfort zone, but, somehow tell men to behave themselves, try and get into schools and do this kind of health care, or let's say preemptive health care?
Yes, we do. Actually, we have a sexual wellness component to what we do.
Right.
And that's talking about sexual integrity. And, can you really break down sexual health and wellness into physical, emotional, and spiritual, and separate all those components? And that's what people have done. Oh, well, let's just make it a physical act. Yeah. And then there's just no consequences, or let's just make it, this or that. Well,
it's so important. Like we've got the last couple of minutes, but we have some, big sort of steam train in the UK in schools called Relationships and Sex Education. Which is encouraging it, encouraging any kind
it's agenda
of promiscuity.
They make it sound so nice and sanitary, but it's always agenda driven.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. Parents have to take control of teaching their kids and raising them up in their sexual wellness, right? And what that means, and as believers, we know that there's a physical, emotional, and spiritual component. God designed it that way. It's all connected. You actually cannot separate it. And it is something to be honored and held sacred because it's beautiful, the way God created it, to be enjoyed and embraced, but there are boundaries around it so it can be fully enjoyed. And so when that is broken apart and there's an agenda behind it that's really designed to, I think, pervert it in many ways, that's why we have millions of abortions. So
we need you over here. You've got to produce material for our schools.
I'd love to. I'd be honored.
We're out of time, unfortunately, but getting my head thinking. I'm really concerned about the kids of today, so
absolutely,
I'm sure you are.
Absolutely,
Bless
this generation. Thank you for having me.
Brandi Swindell, I know a little bit more about Stanton Healthcare, bless you. And just give me the motto again, hope.
Find hope, be well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Find hope, be well. And that's all I can say to you too also. Thank you for joining us on Face to Face. See you next time.